So today I'm going to talk about something because I'm always talking. Let's be honest. I'm going to talk about something anger, specifically when you find yourself in a position where you are angry at someone. Okay. When you are angry at someone, there is often the temptation to get caught in what I call self righteous anger. Self righteous anger, that internal knowing that you were right and they were wrong, and also to some extent holding it over that person, lording over that person. There is a self righteousness sometimes when we feel angry towards someone. And that self righteousness, it can feel good, it can feel self satisfying. And in fact, I want to explain, you know what, just for dramatic effect, I'm going to tell you clear the trailer. That's how important this is. Clear the trailer. Actually, let me tell you where that expression comes from. I remember years ago, I heard an interview. I heard about this interview that Kevin Costner did talking about filming The Bodyguard with Whitney Houston. And actually, this was back during the time when they were still shooting the film and they were still trying to decide what the big song would be that goes with the movie. Of course, in the end, it was I Will Always Love You. But for a while, actually, that wasn't the plan. They were planning to go with a different song. Well, Kevin Costner apparently, the story is he kept trying to encourage Whitney Houston, listen to I Will Always Love You. Really, I think this is the song. You've got to do this song. At first, she didn't like it. And finally, he came to her again one day. And she was on the set and she was, in between takes. And so she's in her trailer and he comes to her, knocks on the door, and he says, you've just got to listen to it one more time. I promise you. And she says, all right, you know what? Clear the trailer. And I'm going to listen to this song. That is how important it is. Just for extra dramatic effect, I really want to make sure that I communicate this point here about self-righteous anger. The self-righteousness that can come sometimes when you feel angry towards a person, the anger, it can feel intoxicating. It can course through your blood, that sense of rightness. And see, a part of that rightness, we can just ooze with some of that sense of rightness sometimes that really involves a sense of moral superiority. At times, when we get angry at somebody and we hold on to that anger at someone. So imagine yourself, you're angry at someone. Think about someone you're angry at now, or maybe you've been angry in the past, and they came to try to talk to you and nope, you didn't want to talk. You wanted to hold on to it. Why? Because on some level, it felt internally good and satisfying. And I would argue it felt probably intoxicating. And because it feels intoxicating in that way, it can really cause you or anyone to really see something in an unfair way, to see something in a distorted way. Now, here's what anyone who is stuck being angry at someone needs to ask themselves. Is there any part of that anger that's about positioning or posturing or some sort of hierarchy? If you're really honest with yourself, when you hold on to anger towards someone, a lot of times what it is you see yourself as up here, and your anger towards them casts the other person down here. But it is about a power dynamic a lot of times. And whenever there's a power dynamic like that, there's not the real true possibility for an alliance. Two people in relationship, whether personal or professional, family relationship, there's really not the space for two people to actually be allies. Power doesn't belong in relationships. Power over another doesn't belong in relationships. And so what happens? The big danger when a person finds themselves holding on to anger, when they find themselves liking it a little bit too much, when they find themselves hanging on to anger a couple hours longer than necessary, or a day longer than necessary, a week longer than necessary, sometimes months longer than necessary. When that happens, really, what it does is isolate you. Anger ultimately can isolate you. Anger, self-righteous anger in particular, can gate us off, from actual warmth and connection. And there are some times when it can feel so good, our rightness, and it can feel so intoxicating that there's even a conscious element of it. And we even know on some level, I know that, I know that I'm kind of isolating myself, and I know I'm probably a little bit too angry, but it's worth it. And that is sometimes what the temptation is, to say to yourself that it's worth it. Even acknowledging, you may lose some sleep over it, that anger. Everybody knows, it's not good to hang on to anger, forgive and forget. People say these things all the time. Well, sometimes people will still hang on to that anger, and they'll tell themselves that whatever negative consequences are still worth it. And what I would suggest is rethinking that, reflecting on that. It is actually worth taking some time and reflecting on, well, yes, this is probably isolating me from the person that I'm angry at, but what other ways may my need to win, my need to have control over someone or something, what other ways in my life may this actually be negatively affecting me, negatively affecting my life? Am I sure it's worth it? Maybe it's not. Maybe it's not worth it. Even though my feeling is so strong on this, am I sure it's worth it? Maybe it's not worth it. What percent chance is there that it's not worth hanging on to that anger? Maybe 20%, 10%, even just 1% chance. Can you focus on that 1% chance that maybe it's not worth it to hang on to it? That maybe, in fact, the act of trying to find healthy ways to let go, make peace with it, to say to yourself, I do better in this world when I have more allies than enemies, when I have more friends than opponents. These are some things that you can think about. When you find yourself getting angry, do a check, take a brief inventory and say, is this anger? Is there a little self-righteousness to it? Can I at all understand the other person's perspective? Can I at all have a little empathy for maybe how the other person might feel in this situation? Now, outside of situations where really horrible physical, grave violations took place, those aside, ask yourself, am I gating myself off, not just from this, but possibly from something else in my life too? All right, something to think about.